Welcome back to another episode of the Grief Observed podcast. I'm your host, Brad Morrell. And if you would like to join me for an episode, you can find me on Facebook at facebook.com/Grief Observed Podcast. You can get me on Gmail, Grief Observed Podcast at gmail.com, or find me on TikTok as well under Grief Observed Podcast. Just send me an email and we'll try to get you on the show as soon as possible. Today, I am joined by Trap Gambino. And most people know Trap as an entrepreneur, an entertainer, a fighter, and a larger than life personality. Today, I'm glad to have him on the show, and we're going to talk a lot about grief today. So, Trap, thanks for joining me today.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me. I was just listening to your podcast, literally catching up right before we met. So
Oh, I appreciate that. Yeah, I always tell people not every episode is going to hit home, but find an episode. I've been going back recently and trying to add like a little tag, like loss of a husband or loss of a child or a daughter, just so somebody can quickly find episodes that may actually tie into the grief that they have a little bit quicker and maybe they can skip over some of the episodes that don't really mean as much. Of course, I think you can learn from anybody's grief, and grief is in all
yes,
things. So,
yeah, I was curious about the questions that you were going to ask during the podcast, so I had to do my little research myself, and I was surprised that you asked the right questions. You know, the good questions, the questions that maybe other people are afraid to ask. You know, about like guilt and stuff like that. Like that's such a trigger and such a hard thing to talk about, something that I like to talk about. And yeah, it's a dark but beautiful thing to share with others because it's experiences that it's hard to talk about. So sometimes it's just better to listen to and
yeah,
relate to.
yeah, and it's something that we're all going to experience. The death of a loved one, death of a friend. Our families are going to experience our death at some point, and it's just something that I don't know that we collectively do well. And it's an experience that we'll all have. It's so crazy.
Yeah, I've had death throughout my entire life. As a kid, I've had family members who passed away, and as a teenager, I've had a girlfriend who passed away. And it never gets easier. In fact, for some reason, it's the only thing that I cannot get used to. If
Hmm.
my dog gets sick, I freak out. I literally like it's something that's like I don't know if it's like a PTSD thing or what, but when something that I love is like sick or hurt, it instant trigger for me.
Yeah.
So that's something that I'm still working on like heavily, especially as a leader and somebody who still has two kids. I have to lead my wife and my kids, and I have to be stronger than panicking every time somebody's sick.
Yeah, well, it's in counseling, I can do exposure therapy for somebody, but if you think about it, grief is not something that we can do exposure therapy on. I mean, how can I prepare you for the next death that you're going to encounter because each individual is so different. It's if you and I both had, say, lost a grandfather, I didn't lose your grandfather, so how am I supposed to know how that makes you feel, right?
Oh, I'm so glad you said that. That is one
Yeah.
of the biggest reasons where when this first happened to my family, I didn't seek out counseling because I selfishly felt like how could they relate to me? Like even if their daughter passed away, um, they don't love their daughter the same that I love my daughter. Like selfishly and egotistically, you think about all these things, and it's part of the grief. Really, it's an anger issue and part of the grief.
Yeah. So before we start, I mean, it sounds like we've already got a really good start here, but before we get too
Yeah,
deep,
we're going in.
why don't you tell the audience a little bit further about you? And then I would like to get into the life of your daughter before we go into the grief part. So tell the audience
Absolutely.
a little more about yourself.
Sure. My name is Trap Gambino. Like you said, I'm a fighter, entrepreneur, entertainer. I started off coming out to Las Vegas, nothing from a small town, Ohio, traveled out here with my wife, and we had nothing to our name, kind of just came out here with big dreams, and stayed in our car for a couple days out here in the Circus parking lot hotel, and then I ended up becoming an influencer slash actor, turned that into fighting, lost a bunch of weight, went from 465 pounds to now I'm 280 pounds. So lost a ton of weight, I should say, and became a fighter and turned that into starting my own fight league. So now I run the Made Fight League, which is the MFL out here in Vegas. We've had 3 events so far, and yeah, I probably do a little too much, but like we were talking about before we started recording, I feel like staying busy is part of defeating the trauma. As
Mm.
long as you're busy in a good, productive way, and not just scatterbrain all over the place. But
Yeah,
yeah, I use my business and my promotion, and staying with all these different tasks to basically keep my mind off of things and on things at the same time.
sure. No, I'd say that's kind of a double-edged sword too, because sometimes we do things out of complete avoidance. But I do think if you're doing
Yes.
things, but yet taking brief moments to dip into the grief to say, how am I feeling right now? What's going on in my world? And then it's like, okay, I've spent a lot of time here. I feel some disturbance in the force, so to speak, and it's like, okay, now I've got to go take care of this or go to work or, that's the thing about grief is life does not slow down, period, right?
Ugh,
There's still bills to pay, mouths to
it does not.
feed.
Yeah, it is not sympathize. It does not sympathize for you.
No, no.
This might sound weird, but I find the shower and the tanning bed are my two escapes to cry when I need to.
Hey,
So,
I get it, man. I just went for a massage, right before I came home and ruined it by mowing the yard. But it's that massage every couple of weeks is my way just to tap out of the world and just say, like,
yeah,
hey, let's turn it off for a moment.
I'm gonna do a. I think it's called a Reiki session
Reiki.
where they put,
Yeah.
yes. And I told her it's a lady that's gonna do it, and it's on Friday. And I told her, I was like, you know what? I'm probably gonna be bawling my eyes out during this
Mm.
session because I see people doing it and the whole emotion letting go and all that. I'm a big sissy when it comes to that stuff.
Trap, I
So
gotta
when it
say,
comes
man.
out, it comes out.
Yeah, what I can admire about you though is, like you said, big guy, but not afraid to cry. And I think we've been taught as men so often that you can't cry, or you're going to be
Yeah,
weak as that by crying. And here I'm talking to a fighter that says, you know what, it's okay to cry.
yeah,
That's
absolutely,
awesome. That's awesome.
absolutely.
So, man, let's take a few moments to honor your daughter for who she was and talk about the
Sure.
life of her.
So her name was Katana Rose Gambino, and she was a beautiful, adventurous little girl. She was 3 years old, almost 4 years old, when she unexpectedly, suddenly passed away from acute leukemia,
Mm.
cancer, and her almost 4 years, she's lived a life that most adults haven't lived. Back and forth from Ohio to Vegas, she's been in camping and in the woods with dogs and stuff like that, to in the desert with and at Seven Magic Mountains, experiencing the hiking and everything. She had it all in her little life, and her favorite thing to do was telling stories. So she had like little action figures that she would create, like the craziest little movies. I swear it could be like productions nowadays, with especially with the quality that's coming out in Hollywood
No
today.
doubt.
So,
No doubt.
but yeah, she would have like little like zebras and lions and stuff, and she would do her little plays. But yeah, she was a beautiful little girl, and she, like I said, she passed away from acute leukemia suddenly and unexpectedly in 2022
Wow.
here in Las Vegas.
How quickly did you all know something was wrong?
So this is where the story gets pretty wild. So I have I have a wife. She was I thought she was healthy at the time. She was 20 weeks pregnant. She was also a fighter, uh, a professional boxer. Her
Hmm.
name's Ashley, the mob wife Gambino, if you want to check her out.
Nice.
Um, so we have two other kids as well. And at the time, my daughter was 8 years old and my son was 2. And so we had the perfect Disney family, I would say.
Hmm.
Everything was like a fairy tale. Everything was like, I felt like some of my friends were like jealous. Like, you got the hot wife, the beautiful kids, the business going, you're in Las Vegas. Everything was just so amazing. And I was working so hard to secure a future that I didn't know was going to be jeopardized,
Hmm.
which was the craziest part. And so we didn't know that my daughter was sick. And the craziest thing about acute leukemia, which I never did research on cancer or anything like that because I didn't think cancer was ever going to be a part of my life.
Hmm.
After I tell you what I tell you, you'll understand why cancer still isn't a part of my life and was never a part of my life. Oddly, um, she one day she was just sick, like kids normally are, throwing up, you know, uh, just feeling like she needed to stay in bed. So we put her in bed with her tablet, put her on the couch so we could watch her and keep her close to us. And the next day, she was just getting worse and worse. Like, and we just thought, like, man, this is a really bad sickness. But she wasn't showing like crazy, like she needs attention now signs. She was just showing like, oh, she has the flu or something. She's in bed with her tablet, she's puking a lot, but that's about it. Not anything ridiculous. And then one night I went to check on her. And this is literally like the second day into this. Like, she, like 2 days before this, totally fine. Up eating her favorite food in her costume because it was just Halloween. So she was totally fine, healthy. I don't know if she's just a strong little girl or what, man, but she wasn't showing any signs whatsoever. And then, like I said, the second day, I went to check on her, and she was, I would call it unresponsive.
Wow.
And I don't want to go into too many details, but she was 100% unresponsive and needed to go now to the hospital now, needed oxygen now. Like like I couldn't believe. Like I was just in like, what is going on right now? What is that? So we obviously rushed her to the hospital, and they're confused. They're like, what? I don't know what's going on right now. Let's try to take her blood. They couldn't get any red blood cells out of her already. And they were like, everybody's confused. They're doing all these tests and hooking her up to everything, putting her through machines. And meanwhile, she's just fading fast the entire time.
Hmm.
And um, they eventually put her on a bag of blood to put blood back inside of her. And then uh like two or 3 hours into all this craziness, the doctor comes in and tells me, I'm sorry, but I think, I'm not sure, but I'm pretty sure that your daughter is going to be diagnosed with acute leukemia. And
Wow.
at the time, I'm thinking like, okay, I don't care. Make her okay. I don't know what that is. I don't care what that is. Make her okay. I don't care if she
Yeah.
has, I don't know what it is. I don't know what this is. I don't know what cancer is. I don't know what acute anything is. Just make her okay. Is she going to be okay? And they kept reassuring me, oh, she's going to be fine. And they didn't, they never seen her before I brought her in. So maybe they didn't know what she normally looks like. but she didn't look fine. I'll just say that.
Mm.
You know your daughter, you know your kids, and I knew that even if she made it through this, that she wouldn't be okay. Um,
Wow.
uh, Neurologically, just by the look in her eyes, she was, yeah, she wasn't okay. So, 6 hours after we brought her to the hospital, her heart stopped, and it was that fast. And yeah, it was so fast that cancer was never ever a part of our lives. We never had the treatments. We never had a packet that said your daughter has cancer. This is what you do you know what I mean? We never watched a YouTube video on it. I still don't know what the hell it is.
Mm.
Um, Other than doing my research afterwards, like how did she catch this? Is it our fault? Was it, like you were talking about the asking questions about guilt. You start like, is it the aerosol air freshener spray that I sprayed around the house? Was I microwaving our chicken nuggets too long? You think of the dumbest things. You always blame yourself. So the
Yeah.
only part of cancer I know was doing the research afterwards on what is this and is it my fault? And unfortunately, acute leukemia literally is if your blood one day, if you're, but it usually happens in younger ages or really older ages. Your cells zig when they should have zagged, and then
Wow.
you end up with acute leukemia, and there's no reason for it, and it's crazy. And once you start showing signs of that that kind of cancer, it's already like too late. But if um yeah, I don't know where I was going with that, but yeah,
Wow.
cancer
No,
was
that's
never a part of our lives. I
that's
don't even
like you
remember the
said, it's
question.
oh no, you're good. That is kind of crazy because, like you said, there's so many things like I'm not big on spraying chemicals, but sometimes it is necessary. I've got some here. I told you I have a farm here, or kind of. I've got a lot of property, and on the label, it's like may cause cancer. But you're
Right?
stating
Like
you're
what?
stating that there was nothing that caused this except a zig versus a zag.
Yeah, apparently it happens. The only thing that they say is if you have like if something about like autism, like it's connected to autism, and she
Okay,
wasn't autistic, so
that's
it's all
interesting.
yeah, it's all very confusing to
Hmm.
me. But
How
yeah,
long after
apparently,
diagnosis did she pass away?
so she wasn't diagnosed before she passed away.
Wow, it was that
She was
quick.
diagnosed after she passed away.
Oh, wow, wow.
Yeah, it was yeah, it was that quick. The doctor
Unbelievable.
told me he thought she had acute leukemia. And then we did all this stuff and rushed her to another hospital, and a children's hospital specialist, obviously. And she passed away not too long after that, in the hospital.
Wow.
And she was diagnosed after she passed away.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Um, were you able to be with her in those last moments?
Yes. So it was right after like a 12-hour shift I had. So I was out all night working. It's another one of my regrets, securing working so hard away from her, securing
Mm.
a future for her that I did not know wouldn't exist. That's a punch in the gut that I like to talk about with other parents who still have a chance to spend time with their kids. But yeah, so it was after a 12-hour shift. I took her to the hospital first. Um, my wife, uh, because she was 20 weeks pregnant at the time, she needed, to stay home. We didn't know that this was that crazy and that serious and that like, Um, I rushed her to the hospital first and stayed with her for a couple hours, and I just kept like falling asleep at the hospital. So my wife came and took over, and my wife was there for the last, I think, couple hours. But we were both pretty much with her for her last moments.
Hmm.
Uh, Even while she was unresponsive, I just I kept talking to her throughout the whole thing, and kept holding her and on her throughout the entire thing. So yeah, I think she knew that we were there with her for sure.
Yeah, I would think so. I've only been with one person whenever they passed away, which was my grandfather, and I got the pleasure of holding his hand as he passed on, and man, it's just chilling but honoring at the same time. It's really hard to explain, being there with somebody in their last moments. But you're talking about regret, and I think a lot of people have regrets, regardless of. Uh, I won't say regardless of full relation, but it doesn't have to be father daughter. There's regret in some things that we didn't say to a friend or a coworker or things like that. But I think regret is this thing that wraps itself around uh, a grief moment with ourselves. But I think we've got to do something, and no pun intended here, Trap, but we got to fight back whenever we start having those thoughts of, did I do enough? Did I say the right things? And I think the answer is, yeah, you probably did. It's, I've heard stories where, for example, let's say a couple has an argument and one storms out and takes off and, ends up dying in a car wreck. And it's like, the other surviving spouse has this guilt that, oh my gosh, this argument drove them to this. I wouldn't go that far. And it's like, are you going to let this one moment ruin the rest of everything? Every couple argues, right? It's just part of being married. Uh, but I think it's the same thing. A lot of times our brains want to take us to, uh, you know, did I work too much during this time period or whatever? You're thinking she's going to be okay. I've got to think about the future. I've got now hospital bills to pay for. Um, but yet the brain wants to take us into these negative areas. So, what did you
Yeah.
do to kind of fight back against some of this regret? And do you still struggle with that today?
Um, you know, Here's a honest answer. I don't think I've done anything to fight back against that regret yet, other
Hmm.
than now speaking out and telling people about it and hoping that they don't do the same things and guiding them not to do the same things. Because, like I said, all that stuff that happened, and we can get into more of what happened after she passed away. But all that stuff happened in 2022, and I'm just now coming out and getting to talk about it to the point where somebody actually I think it was you needed pictures of or somebody needed pictures of Katana, and I was looking through my phone and I realized that I had no pictures of her saved in my phone. So I was like, oh, let me go through my Facebook. And I deleted my Facebook when all this happened and created another Facebook. I was going through all the trauma symptoms you can think of.
Sure.
So I noticed that I didn't have any pictures of her on my Facebook. And it just hit me like, how much of this am I running away from?
Hmm.
How much of this am I trying to not see? Because obviously I love my dad. I got pictures of her all over my house. But I was avoiding so much. And just now in 2026, I'm facing it head on. And I feel like anytime I help somebody else, that's a way of beating the guilt a lot. And I don't think I'll ever beat it for sure. Because as a father, as a parent, as a father, as a leader, you're always like, I don't care what it is. I don't care if it's 80 demons that want to come in and kill my family. I'm going to protect my family from those demons. You know,
Yeah.
you don't think there's anything that you cannot stop from hurting your family. And once there's something that hurts your family that you have no control, that's just way stronger than you could ever imagine. It's just it's a helpless feeling for
Especially
sure.
when it's something, it's an invisible opponent, right?
Yeah, yeah, and it's so fast.
Mm.
Like you don't even have a chance to even think about it.
So let me
It
ask you the $1 million question, and this is, I hope it doesn't hit as hard as I mean for it. But did Katana know that you love her?
absolutely.
All
I
right.
think
So
she
why don't we
yeah,
just
go
pause
ahead.
right there, right? Like instead of thinking
Right,
about
yeah.
all the regret, all the guilt, it's like if you can bank on that one thing, then it is enough sometimes.
Yeah.
Now again, your brain's going to want to take you to those darker areas, but at the same time, uh, nothing trumps your love for a daughter, period.
Yeah. I think she might have thought that we were the only people that existed in her life. Like the love was that strong. It was
Wow.
we were very, very close.
That's awesome. That is awesome. So, yeah, let's continue the story because this is not where trauma really ends for you, right?
Not at all. Yeah, let me take a drink of my water
Yeah.
here.
Yeah, I talk about that a lot that grief can be complex, especially if we have multiple losses. We hear a lot of times that grief comes in three, and I've seen it more times
Yes,
than not. It's so weird.
that
Uh, but
is
when you're
very
trying to deal
strange.
with one thing, and then it's like, life's not heavy enough here, have another brick. That
Oh,
happened to you,
yeah.
right?
Yeah, we were pretty much given a whole house of bricks. So,
Mm,
um, a week after my daughter's funeral, my wife was feeling extra ill. And like I said, she was 20 weeks pregnant at the time with another baby girl. And we took her to the hospital and they couldn't find out what was wrong with her. We thought maybe it was just a rough pregnancy, but she literally like couldn't breathe. She was getting to the point where she felt lightheaded. We put an oxygen reader on her and it was like at 70%
wow.
to the point where like she might die. Like it was horrible. So we were taking her from hospital to hospital and ended up, and ironically, we were in Ohio when this happened and took her to the Cleveland Clinic, which happens to be like the biggest heart specialists in the world. Excuse me, sorry, that sparkling water. But we took her to the Cleveland Clinic, and that's when we found out that she was diagnosed with severe pulmonary hypertension disease, which
Wow.
is basically which is it's heart failure, and it's a deteriorating disease, and it's uncurable. So uh, it was bad, and she was at the point where if we didn't terminate pregnancy, she would have died sooner than later. Like she wouldn't have made it through the whole pregnancy. Uh, the baby would have suffered, in her belly, not getting the oxygen that it's supposed to get. Um, she would have not made it through birth. Neither one of them would. It was just, it would, it still is and would have been even a bigger nightmare.
Mm.
So we had to terminate pregnancy to save my wife's life. Essentially, um, finding out that she had uh, 5 to 10 years to live is what they said, which is also out of nowhere and unbelievable because she was a fighter. Like I said, she was healthy. She was fine. She's a beautiful woman. Uh, had no problems. Professional boxer. And like we had like what? What is pollen? Now we have to deal with this. Like we literally just heard some stuff that we had nothing. So it was so confusing. So we had a day to decide that because it was so bad that like we had to do it now or not. Like she's going to die. So it was literally like a day to decide that. So or like an hour, honestly. Like I think it was like the next day she went into surgery. It was unbelievable,
Hmm.
so fast. And after the surgery, she had to be put on a heart catheter, I think it's called, where to this day she's living with a tube in her heart that's got a needle in her heart 24/7 pumping medication connected to her hip. That's with this big machine. And we have to sanitize it every other day and clean the house and make sure everything's different. Like she has to sleep in our living room now, separate from me in a hospital bed, sitting up on an oxygen machine. Keep in mind,
Wow.
she's 35 years old.
Wow.
Um, and it's just like, and this is a month after our daughter passes away. So, like, we didn't even have time to think about anything. We still are still processing this, and it's been years. But yeah, to this day, she still lives with a tube in her chest pumping medication. That's really, our whole life got super expensive out of nowhere. It changed out of nowhere. Now we have to change the way we live, change the way we love, change the way we eat, change the way we do everything. She has to sleep sometimes up to like 12 hours a day. Um, and if she does anything physical, she could be out for like weeks. Like literally, if we do an event, like I run boxing promotions, she's my COO. So she's out, like, talking to the fighters and stuff like that, running back and forth in the venue. And because of that one night for a couple hours running back and forth, she'll be, down for like a week or two, sometimes up to a month. And everything about our life has changed on top of our daughter passing away and everything changing on that. So, um, yeah, it was like, I would say a double whammy, but that doesn't even, words can't really describe how crazy this all was and still is, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. And it sounds like you do have some caregiving roles there as well. You know, it's like you said, there's uh extra cleaning that, cleaning is not my thing, man. If I had to clean the house extra, and it doesn't sound like, you know, a lot, but whenever you're talking about cleaning versus sterilizing, man, there's a big difference, right? It's
Oh yeah. Yeah.
wow.
Yeah, it's definitely, like, you have to, like, when we travel, we have to consider, like, does this hotel have an area where she can mix her medicine? She has like 10,000 of dollars worth of medication that she has to mix like every other 2 days, and this crazy concoction that she has to do herself and remember it. And if she messes one thing up, then she could die. If she gets a hair on a line, then she could die. And it's crazy. She has to wear gloves and a mask herself to do it. And it's the wildest thing. It really is.
Wow. How do you I guess still try to be a normal family? Can you be a normal family? I mean, and of course, normal is subjective, right?
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, that's true. Um, I would say no. I would
Okay,
say, but then again, I would say we weren't a normal family before all this.
that is fair.
We were literally like, we were a fairy tale family, I would say. We were really close, and we all had dreams and ambitions and stuff like that. We still do. But of course, yeah, it's a rough one. It's a rough one for sure.
So, uh, you've got a daughter and a son still, right?
Yes, my daughter's
And
11 and my son is 5 years old.
okay. So, what do they think about of course, the loss that the family has experienced, but also, is life normal for them in their minds?
I would hope so, but then
Yeah.
again, we live in Las Vegas, so I don't know how normal it is out here for kids.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're gamers. Uh, my daughter's in the books and stuff like that. I feel like she relates to me in a way where she avoids a lot of it. Her and her sister were
Mm.
best, best friends. And anytime I even ask her about Katana, she just kind of puts her head down, kind of doesn't talk about it, doesn't, and I don't want to push her. But right afterwards that happened, we we got her a cell phone. So she's in the gaming now on this phone and everything safely. We
Sure,
definitely
sure.
watch all that. But yeah, I would hope that they're having a good upbringing. And I I hide a lot of the emotions about everything when I'm around them. Like I said, the shower and the tanning bed is my time to cry and my time
Yeah,
to be like, get away from things a little bit. But when I'm with them, it's like you just got to put on a cape and a mask and be a superhero, whether you feel like it or not. So yeah, there's a lot of fake. A lot of times, this might sound horrible. I don't want this to sound the wrong way, but I'm just being honest here. A lot of times when I'm having fun, with my family, uh, might be fake smiles and fake
mm.
fun because deep inside I'm still dying.
Mm.
But I want them to think I'm having fun and we're all happy here. But inside, it's hard to be okay for sure.
Yeah, yeah. Trap, here's another $1 million question for you, but who's in your corner, man? Who's your support team?
I got a private group of friends for sure.
Yeah.
And they're pretty good support for me. Other than that, you know, myself really, I feel like you have to be your own fighter a lot of times.
Mm.
Yeah, it's a rough one. You a lot of times you have to fight alone because when you reach out, at least this is just my experience, by the way. A lot of people reach out, they get all the help they need, they get everything. They realize, oh, people are amazing. They helped me so much, and that wasn't my experience at all. That
Mm.
wasn't my experience at all, because when this happened, I was a influencer, reality star. I was I had a lot of haters too. Imagine having haters, fans. You have fans on both sides,
Sure.
but imagine having like a bunch of fans when something really, really dark, bad happens to you, and they're just waiting to comment,
Mm.
memes or something crazy, pictures of your daughter. They go dark sometimes, and I don't know where I was going with that,
No,
but
that's good. And
that's another thing. Sometimes I get a question and just go off on tangents.
no, you're good, man. I've got ADHD. I can follow. So,
I think I do too. It might be undiagnosed, but I think I have it.
there it's amazing that there's a lot of people who you think are going to be there for you in a time of grief
Oh
and they
yeah,
fall away. And then there's a lot of
yes.
people who you would have never expected to just they pop up out of nowhere. It's like, "Hey, who are you? And thanks for being here, you know?
Yeah, that's what I was getting to, I guess, is in my experience, it like when all this happened, I don't know if it was like a selfish thought or what, but I was like, oh well, if at least there's gonna be people out here that can help me. Like they're gonna hear this, they're gonna know this, they're gonna see this, and like somebody's gonna hug me, help me, hold me. It wasn't none of that for me. Like I felt like I was screaming at the top of my lungs for help. Like,
Mm,
help me. My family is dying. My wife is dying. We need help bad. And like I felt like I was getting pointed at and laughed at more than anything, which is crazy. Like you wouldn't expect that. And I didn't expect that. And it got to the point where I was like, I got sick of reaching out and I started reaching in and that's when I started losing a bunch of weight and really focusing on myself and my own work and getting us out of this myself instead of relying on others to get us out of it or help us to get out of it. And, financially, emotionally, mentally, like it's up to me. I had no choice, or literally the rest of my family would die. So yeah, it's wild. It's almost like man up or fade away.
Yeah. And whenever you're playing multiple roles, you're your husband, your father, you're a businessman, you're holding together this fight league and promoting, there's so many hats that you're wearing, and it's like that's a juggle act in itself. But you know, how do you? It's not like you can lay any of that down, which just adds pressures, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's another thing that I've recently been working on is considering my emotions, having a bunch of tabs open. And right now I have way too many tabs open on my computer, and I need to close some tabs because my memory is getting cluttered. So yeah, that's why I've been focusing more on speaking and helping others than the whole influencer entertainment side of things, because it's fun to go in a ring and talk smack and entertain people, put on fights and stuff like that. But it's way better to help people and to actually make a real impact. And I want to do both. So now I'm using my fight league to raise funds for charities and stuff like that. And we're doing all kinds of cool stuff now.
That is awesome. Let me ask you, how did you and your wife grieve differently? Obviously, she's going through this illness and her own things, but like, how do you grieve? Honestly, losing two children really quickly.
That's a great question. We after it happened, because of her illness, uh, we have to spend a lot of time apart. Like right now, I'm in my home. I'm in my home office, and I always have to have the door shut. With she's got the in the living room with the oxygen machine and everything, like sanitized and all that. I got candles going in here. Literally the smoke could affect it. Like it's
Wow.
crazy. So yeah, she's very secluded. I'm secluded in my work. So we uh we need to spend more time together for sure. We need to find those vacation times and stuff like that. But people don't consider, like, it like, what are you gonna do? How are you gonna, you just gonna pull money out of nowhere and take a cruise? Like, what are you gonna do? You know
Mm,
what I mean? Like,
mm.
you can't really do that when you have work to do. So uh, you know it's crazy. It's almost like, when am I going to learn my lesson? But right now, it's like I'm working so hard so we can do things that I'm hoping are still there,
Yeah.
are still available. But what else am I going to do? You know what I mean? Like, it's something that I talk to a lot of men about, because it's rough. They're in control. Like, they can't just be like, I'll lay it off and have somebody else take over. You have to look up to yourself. So yeah, I'd say we grieve. It's yeah. I don't know how to answer that really.
Yeah.
I don't even know how I grieve really, to be honest.
Well,
But I will say, go ahead.
I was going to say I commend your bravery, like you said, just speaking up, speaking out, and being on podcasts like this to tell your story. That's part of the grieving process, and a lot of things that we've covered here already, it may be something, if you walk out of this podcast with one nugget of something new or a different feeling, then man, then I feel accomplished. And if one person is affected by your story and thinks a little bit differently about their grief, then this podcast was enough. Man, I don't make any money off this podcast. I started doing advertising there for a little while. If somebody wants to pay me thousands of dollars and keep advertising, great. Contact me now, please. But otherwise, this is me, and I just, man, this is something extra I enjoy doing because I know there's a lot of people that listen, and I do get feedback, and people will comment about, oh my gosh, that one story, that person did this or lost this person and it meant so much. Your story is worth a lot. And like I said, I commend you for coming on and just speaking about it. And if that's the first step in a long journey of working through your grief, then you're on the right track.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I was gonna say, is it weird that I almost don't even comprehend what the word grief means yet? I've been avoiding this so much, and I hope others can relate to that as well, because I think avoidance is a big thing. And you know, there's so many reasons I've avoided this. And when you talk about money, that's also one of the reasons. I feel like my story is so valuable that like by now I could have written books and all this stuff. I get so mad when like I don't want to be too judgmental, but I do see a lot of grifting out
Mm,
there,
yeah.
and it hurts me deeply, so bad. It makes me so frustrated, but it also holds me back because then I think like, oh, maybe I shouldn't start a foundation because I don't want to be looked at as like a grifter or using my daughter's name to make money or something like that. And you can't judge yourself to what others are doing, but there is a lot of grifting, a lot of avoidance, all that, and all that is a reason why I haven't really been, you know, taking this head on until 2026, is because there's so much negativity out there that you just want to avoid it, but you can't. It's
Yeah.
there. You got to fight.
Yeah. And you're exactly right. There's a lot of people who have made a lot of money off of grief. The whole five stages of grief thing, I personally don't like that model at all.
See, I'm not
Because
even familiar.
okay. So yeah, it's the most popular model out there, and it actually started as the five stages of dying, but they kind of massaged it a little bit and made it into a moneymaker. And now people make all kinds of money off of the five stages of grief. They're adding on different stages, and it's like, you know, uh, I
That's
before I
horrible.
became a counselor, I lost one of my best friends literally 15 years ago in it'll be in September. And as you can see, this is also my music studio. We created music together. Um, so he passed away, and then I became a therapist, and it's like this is how I honor him. I never really imagined getting into grief or that being my specialty. But now it's like I can make meaning from his life, from his death, right? And when somebody dies, you want to make sense of it. You want to say, how do I ensure that Katana's life mattered, right?
Yes.
And I
Yes.
think by what you're doing right now is exactly how you're making her life matter, because you're letting people know it's like you don't have to have a PhD or a doctorate degree in acute leukemia. You just have to know that, you know what, I'm a grieving father and my daughter died and it hurts. And I want to help
Yeah.
anybody else that has felt this or may feel this in the future. See, that's the other thing, Trap, is we all think that we've got this fairy tale, this Disney life until it visits our home. And when it hits our home, then we start looking for resources just like this right here. So this is where your voice, I think, is going to really matter, and it may not matter to somebody today. Somebody out there, their life may be wrecked 5 years from now, and hopefully this podcast will still be available. And at some point, her life still matters, right? It will always matter, and I think
Yeah.
a good father ensures that, and that's what you're doing today.
I appreciate that. That's beautiful, and that's something that definitely pushes me to keep talking about this, is keeping her memory alive. I like to say, because her name's Katana Rose Gambino. I like to say I'm gonna flood the world with roses.
Ah, nice, nice. You know, what's next? You kind of mentioned, you could have been doing other things, write a book. What, yeah. Have you ever thought about writing a book?
I have. I feel like if I did, it'd be like I would end on a chapter in the middle of my life still going for sure. I feel like everything's still developing, honestly. Right now, I'm booking myself to speak a lot. and to speak with kids and stuff like that. I have a speaking background, not about this, so it's going to be different this time around. I did tours back in the day, talking about my experience in a juvenile facility and stuff like that, and how I turned that around to become a successful adult and not go to jail and all that stuff. So I used to speak about that a lot, and now I have even more to speak about. So yeah, I guess that's where I'm going now is mentorship, I should say.
Oh, that's fantastic, man. And that's needed as well.
Yes.
Whenever I was 15 years old, my parents went through a divorce. I was told you're never going to be anything, and thought I was going to be a rock star. I know it's hard to imagine, but I used to have long hair, and that didn't work out. So I went off to the Navy. That lasted a couple or a few years, and it's like I don't know. I never imagined even going to college, but something said, you know what? I'm tired of doing this 9 to 5 stuff. You know, you enjoy talking to people. Why don't you become a therapist? And here
That's
I am.
beautiful.
I didn't do it till like I went into the business, I guess, when I was 41, 42. I'm now 50. I'll be uh 51 this year. It's never too late to be what you want to be. And I always say, whatever they tell you you're going to be, tell them different, show them
Yeah.
different, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. Yeah, it's weird how things are evolving in my life right now. It's almost like I'm going backwards. Like I'm in the speaking roles. A lot of them like the way I'm approaching it because I'm not quote unquote too professional. Like a lot of them are used to, these guys coming in with they already have the books and the all this stuff, and these guys can relate to me because I'm at their level a little bit more.
Yeah.
So I'm learning for sure.
Yeah. The one thing I'm sitting here thinking is the one thing that people can't take away from you, you'll always be a father of four, right? And a lot of times, I always say people look for the evidence. It's like, okay, I see two kids here, um, but you've got two others, and those things last forever, right? You're forever a father, and
Yes.
man, I don't know. It's tough. I've got one daughter who is like 24 now. It's crazy.
Oh wow.
Life goes by quick, man.
Wow.
It really does. It's like one moment you're doing these school things and watching your kids read books and blah blah blah, and then next thing you know, you're walking them down the aisle and helping them fix stuff at their house. It's like, man, life goes by quick for all of us.
I don't know if I'm letting my daughter move out. She's stuck with me forever.
There you go. There you go.
Her
Trap,
boyfriend
man.
can move in.
There you go. Trap, it's been awesome, man. But I want to leave you with any last words, any thoughts that you have for the listeners, and anything you wanna end this on, man. Anything you want to promote too, you're welcome.
Sure. My Instagram it sounds a little funny because it was when I was fighting, but it's Trap Daddy MMA. So that's my Instagram handle if you want to go and follow me. I'll definitely be posting clips of this. I'll give you a follow as well. And yeah, when it comes to giving a message, I would just say reach into yourself more than reaching out. I know like I don't want to discourage people from reaching out. I don't want to come across like I'm giving that message, but definitely like a lot of this is in you, and like
Mm.
people are a lot stronger than they think they are, and sometimes they're forced to find out the hard way. Uh, you're strong, so reach in. That I guess that's my message.
Yeah, yeah, and you're absolutely right. Like, there's a lot of times we don't know how strong we are until we're truly pressure tested, right? And then it's like, okay, now I know what I'm made of. And again, I think that's
Yeah.
where we start making meaning of the life of someone we lost and also our own lives. So,
Yeah, absolutely.
man, I appreciate you being here today.
Oh man, I appreciate you having me.
Yeah. Listeners, thanks for tuning in. Uh, I will have Trap's information in the show description. So if you didn't catch his Instagram there, I'll have it there for you. Give him a follow. If you're out in Vegas, go find him in the Made Fight League. And we appreciate you uh, listening to today. And if you've enjoyed the show, please pass it on to somebody else that needs to hear it. And we'll catch you on the next episode. Have a great day, everyone.